Rhea 23. Still with Marius. I was talking about him last time, but it's more than a few notes can tell about him, because the relationship stretched from the communist days, when he had so much to give and share with us, on to the post-revolution period, where the relationship soured. So I bought a car from him, an old Dacia, sort of orange red. That was my first car, and I remember once it was driven by an ambulance driver from England who was horrified, shocked, numbed by the apparition of the motorcade of the communist regime. The streets were nearly empty in those days. There were restrictions upon restrictions. Often nobody was allowed to drive, and then cars with odd or even uneven numbers were on the street. One day or one day the other kind of plate. But Marius had for most of the time had a Volkswagen, which was like more than a Rolls Royce. Like you would have a Formula One car on the streets. Not even that, an UFO, because on those streets where any type of car was rare. I mean, the Dacia, which has so many jokes. Why do you have heating on the rear window of a car, of a Dacia? It can be another car, Skoda, to keep your hands warm when you push. How do you double the price of a Dacia? Just fill the tank. So amidst all these cars, few in number and the same lousy make, his Volkswagen was a spaceship. And to give you an idea how odd, this was, why a spaceship shuttle, because there were times when it was just him. I remember when we went because they blocked the traffic, because other cars couldn't make it anyway in some places. We came from Sinai. I mentioned the trip to the Union of Writers lodgings there in Sinai, in the mountains. And on the way back, this was the only car on the road. We didn't know where the road is anymore, because there was snow, and no other car drove. I'd driven there, so yes, there were portions of the road where you could have an idea, because you saw the trees. Many roads, many areas of roads here have trees on both sides, but where there weren't trees, I was a guess. So that was one thing. As I said, after 1990, we had some things we did in common. We went to Germany. He even put us up for a night. I was with Socrates there, and nothing. Neighbors were concerned because there was a little water leaking from the car as it was parked there, and they were on the point of calling the police, which sounded like an exaggeration then, but to me it's a good thing that community is involved. Here you see 500 meters from here there's a field, which is such a great thing to have a field in the Bonanza forest in the north of the city, of the capital. But it's filled with tons, hundreds, thousands of tons of garbage brought in over the past 8 years by thousands tens of thousands of trucks. And I don't care. I've reported, but that's for another episode later. Closer to this day. One friend he had has died in the meantime. Dan Stamate had a great house. His parents had a great house. They were both architects near Tineretului Park. And he used to be the boyfriend he's been the boyfriend for 5-10 years of the woman who's now the Minister of Justice, Raluca Prun. Funny. The world moves around. And then to end with, and maybe come back to, as I will be talking about Nikki later, I mentioned this habit of being a friend of Mirela. I even forget who else. A colleague or friend of mine turns out to have relationship with him. It was a sort of a promiscuous world, come to think of it. Some went with Adrian, we didn't mind which one, let them decide who goes with who. We were just up to score. Alas, male chauvinist pigs. But then at the end, this Nikki, perhaps probably the most beautiful woman I met, more beautiful than Miss Romania, whom I would meet later, she ended up with him. And not only that, but unfortunately he kept some of my travel guiding money because it was allowed under the communist regime, and he had it to keep it safe, so that was good, nice of him, but he wouldn't return. So it felt like they're going together, him and my ex-girlfriend, and spending my money on top of it, to add insult to injury. It's more complicated than that. As I said, I'll have to come back to it because I declared already true, so she wasn't really like with me and then going out all of a sudden with him. No, I was a bad asshole, actually. When I met an English girl and I said, look, it's not going to work here, it's such a shitty place, prison and that, so I will marry this girl and move on to England. So she was given notice. Nikki wasn't like, I dumped her, if we can say. I mean, I announced the intention to go to England. There was a period which will have to come again later.